Ladies and gentlemen, the sweet crown prince of Zionism, Tall the Traveling Cloud, coming to you live from the United States of America. Let's take a look at this clip.
But I'm seeing this unfold, for example, on TV. I'm seeing Channel 4 just, I don't know about Prevent. I know about TV, though. I used to work in TV. I was told over and over as a white man I couldn't be on the screen anymore. And I was often rejected by people who had Arabic names. It's just something I've seen high up in production, Channel 4, who just released a documentary about Gaza, which I doubt will be two-sided. And as the Islamic population grows, look, I would be concerned if we had 4, 5, 6 million Hasidic Jews in this country, because I don't agree with everything in the Hasidic Jewish community. That's not to downplay everything in it, as I wouldn't downplay everything in the Islamic community. It's a number that is large enough, and we saw what happened in Lebanon. We saw in Iran what is happening now in Turkey, I think, Afghanistan, countries that were previously relatively secular, had some religion in them, had a bit of everything, that the population grew of Muslims, and it was, so without wanting to sound like a conspiracy theorist, are we at a point now where it's impossible to put the Jewish side forward, for example, or to put the non-Muslim side forward, because it's just, the numbers are too high?
Well, it's long been impossible to put the Jewish side forward. Going back many years, I've personally found that from my experience. It's certainly true that we see more and more Muslim names in the media. And, one should not generalize. There are many Muslims who, are horrified by extremism of any kind, and who are perfectly decent people who are signed up entirely to Western values and all the rest of it. However, there's a very significant proportion of that community which is not signed up to Western values, and an even larger proportion, I'm afraid to say, which really hates Jews. And that is a major, major issue which nobody talks about, nobody in the Jewish community talks about in public. So that is there, and it's self-evident that if those numbers are growing, then this problem is going to grow. However, what I'm, my own experience of the refusal to put the Jewish side, or the Israeli side, I should say, predates that. It's nothing to do with the Muslim community. It's white liberals, it's white progressives who really, really, really hate Israel because they have imbibed a narrative, if you can imbibe a narrative, which they believe to be axiomatically true. And anyone who says it's not true is, in this case, not right-wing, they're a Jew, or they're a Zionist, which, for the purposes of this discussion, of that particular argument, is the same as saying they're a Nazi. It's like that. And these are white people, these are white progressives, and they've been like that for years. So, what you're saying, I'm sure, it's a point to consider, but it's not the main. It's not the main thing. The main thing, the main driver of this is white progressive society, which is embracing the fundamental anti-Semitism of the Muslim community, which is far, far more pervasive than in any other sector of society. They're embracing it because it plays to their own narrative, particularly since so much of it is to do with Israel. And now it's becoming more and more brazen in being anti-Jew. And so, the progressive world is having a bit of trouble with this because it's quite hard now to process that. But they are more pervasive than in any other sector of society. They're embracing it because it plays to their own narrative, particularly since so much of it is to do with Israel. And now it's becoming more and more brazen in being anti-Jew. And so, the progressive world is having a bit of trouble with this because it's quite hard now to process that. But they are managing to process it because they're managing to wrestle it round to the narrative that to which they are entirely wedded, and which defines them as moral beings. this idea that the Israelis are fundamentally oppressive and aggressive, and the Palestinian Arabs are fundamentally their victims and only want good things like the rest of us, is so hardwired into progressive opinion that, in my view, it has produced a kind of moral deformation, a loss of moral compass, which goes far, far beyond the issues of the Middle East.
Bloody hell. I think, when we talk about the views in the Muslim community about Jews, in certain countries around the Middle East, I think it was Pew Research that found this, 97 to 99% of people have unfavorable views of Jews. So that's why I say that. I only repeat that now because I think people might go, what do you mean infiltrating? And I'd say to them, look, if you knew we were getting hundreds of thousands of people from countries where 97 to 99% of people have unfavorable views of your particular ethnicity, you might go, hang on, we better get out and do something.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. And of course, one can't talk about that because it's Islamophobic.
Yeah.
And we see, the government is flirting. They keep flirting and then they keep retreating under fire. But they're flirting with the idea of criminalizing Islamophobia.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is it. I mean, it's all well and good to have these luxury beliefs about, don't say anything bad about. When you start to feel, when you have evidence, empirical evidence that your family is no longer safe in your own home country, that's when you go, well, screw your PC culture, screw your wokeness. This is serious now.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Jews in Britain and elsewhere who are under guard, have to be under guard, and their schools are behind barbed wire, and their synagogue doors are reinforced. And they are the people, it's the Jews who are getting physically and verbally attacked all the time, to a degree, and intimidated. Now, there are people who hate Muslims, and there are people who hate Hindus and Sikhs, and people who hate anybody with a brown or black face. I mean, this is all terrible stuff, and this is true and real, and that's real prejudice. But, Islamophobia basically says that it's illegitimate to ascribe any misdeeds whatsoever to anyone or anything in the Islamic world. And so it's a complete chiller. It's a totalitarian invention, masquerading as an attempt to eradicate prejudice on a par with eradicating anti-Semitism. But the result is you cannot talk about Muslim anti-Semitism. And the Jewish community leadership in this country is silent on it. What it goes on and on and on about is the need to fight Islamophobia, which is the same as anti-Semitism. This is the Jewish community leadership.
Pathetic.
I think, two mischaracterizations. One, this idea of liberalism or white liberalism being the main crux behind anti-Semitism. While it's true nowadays, and that's what it's manifested into, it really is the Arab Islamic supremacists that have propagated, at least in the last 1,000 years, this reformation of anti-Semitism. They were the ones who collaborated with Hitler, right? How did my family end up in Israel from leaving Iraq? How did my family end up leaving? Is because Hitler inspired the Arabs to be anti-Semitic. And it's not like they weren't anti-Semitic before that. I mean, the Arabs engaged in Jewish pogroms and Jewish murder and in slavery of Jewish people and in horrific abuses towards Jewish people for 1,000 years. The Arabs and the Muslims did this to the Jews everywhere they were. There were periods of good and there were periods of bad. And a lot of those bads, they remember the Jewish community. And so that's carried on and it's manifested into white liberalism now, sort of combining forces with Muslims, because you're not allowed to ever talk about the shortcomings of Islam or the shortcomings of the Muslim community or the shortcomings of the Arab community. And you end up in a reality where we are today. But guess what? I'm uniquely positioned because of my identity, my color skin, my family history, and my fucking DNA to be able to talk shit about everyone. I can attack the white liberals. I can also attack the Muslims. You don't get to box me in. I get to say whatever the hell I want to say. And you know what? If that's the rules we have to play by today, I'll inspire everybody to play by those rules. I'm not here for good faith. I'm here for bad faith. I'm here to tear down. I'm here to change the game. That's the whole idea behind this YouTube channel. We're fighting against this shit. And we're not a part of any fucking political ideology. We're not part of this or we're not a part of this. We are a part of making shit right, changing the world. That's the whole point of this YouTube channel. And if what we have to do is fight against both the white liberal racists and the Arab racists, we'll do it at the same time. I can say whatever the fuck I want. I'm uniquely positioned to. I'm an ethnic minority. I'm a person of color. Give me every fucking label. I'm a descendant of refugees. I'm a Jew, and I'm an Arab. Arab. Not really an Arab. Arabized. I get to jump out of whatever circles I want, and yes, I'll use them in bad faith to make my arguments. Hell yeah, I will. You bet your ass I will. I love you guys long time, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, Clats. If you believe in my content and want to support me, just know your help is needed. There's a bunch of great ways to support me, being PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or joining my Patreon community down below. Patreon is the best way to support my channel, and you'll get a bunch of cool perks depending on what tier you join. Another great way to support me is by buying my merchandise on thetravelingclat.com. I regularly drop new merch designs like this beautiful hat, or this amazing shirt, where you can support the channel and get something cool for yourself. I also have an amazing Discord community with people from all over the world. Thank you so much for your support.